Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Leather Lounge. My name is Sean Longstreet, and I'm your host. And last week was a huge day, a huge week for the Bitcoin ecosystem. I thought it was going to be necessary to round up the legends of the Leather Lounge, to give us a little recap, everyone that was there last week, so that we can have them all share the highlights from not only the Bitcoin Builders Conference, but the main Bitcoin conference in Nashville. So we're living in a post-conference world now, post-conference Bitcoin world now, ladies and gentlemen. So what does that mean? I'm really excited to see what the rest of this year is going to look like. We've got a lot of people to get to. I know it's going to be a banging conversation. I'd like to get started with the Bitcoin Builders event hosted by the Stacks Foundation. And then I also am super excited to catch up with some absolute amazing artists. We got Violetta is going to join us. Boozy's going to be here. The Teflon Musk himself is going to show up too. So I want to dig into art and how that's evolved over the last year and how that was reflected in Nashville last week as well. So yeah, there's a lot to get to, a lot to unpack. I'm bringing more people up on stage, and I think we're going to try to have to be civilized with this call today, just because we have so many people to get to. So yeah, I would really like to start, Chris. I'm going to jump in with you first, and anyone else that was at the Bitcoin Builders Conference. So, Chris, why don't you start? What was it like the first few days in Nashville, and what was the Bitcoin Builders event like?
Yeah, first and foremost, always a pleasure to chat with you. You've been killing it from the standpoint of programming, and Leather
Thank
Lounges
you.
continue to grow and provide a lot of value. So, salute to you and your efforts. Bitcoin Builders Conference, man, it was electric to say the least. So,
Hmm.
when you first fly in and you get settled, and then you start wandering around, you begin to see people with lanyards. You begin to see people talking Bitcoin, and then you go to the premier Bitcoin L2 conference, and you just hear all these announcements. You see all this free swag from the Valar team, Stacking DAO, etc. There's so much that I could unpack, but ultimately, like, it was one of those things where you had to be there, and if you weren't, video content is coming, so you can get all of the alpha and all of the game that came. It was a really, really dope event. Really dope event.
I know for me, one of the highlights for sure was that Brandon from Trust Machines and host for Good for Bitcoin on Fridays, he brought all of his podcasting gear out and saw a lot of people in person. And yeah, last week we just had a super fun conversation. So definitely got to feed off the energy from everyone in the room. And that was a good call. So, Chris, I know we've got the videos coming out, but to you, like, what stood out? You know, whenever I've been at these conferences, it's amazing. Obviously, like the main speakers are incredible. You're getting a lot of great information from the presentations, but there's a lot of great conversations that happen one-on-one, on the side. What are some of your top moments? Things you've learned, conversations you had, new people that you connected with.
Man, such a good question. Obviously, with conferences, there are satellite events, and those satellite events can either have people from the ecosystem or people outside of the ecosystem. So I think it would be it'd be helpful for me to tee it up this way. Any side event that I went to, I never heard anyone say anything bad about stacks. Um, and there were a lot of different protocols in the mix. A lot of people were saying like they're studying stacks, they're watching stacks, they're really liking the teams that come out of the ecosystem and how they're building high quality products. A lot of investor interests within the ecosystem of Bitcoin L2s in general. I would also say that partnerships and collaborations came a lot easier. Like if you were providing value and it could fit within the ethos of a team, whether they're venture backed or otherwise, there was like no area refreshing to come across because I remember many times past, like the you can't sit with us mentality being very high in certain conferences or at certain venues or gatherings. But for this conference, it just seemed like everything was open for a lot of different opportunities. So that was super refreshing to see. And I think within the next 6 to 12 months, we're going to see fruits of some of those conversations and some of those partnerships that have come.
What are anyone that's coming in new? Are they coming from other ecosystems? Have they been like on the various test nets? Are they coming from ETH? Where are people coming from if they're new?
Such a good question. So, I'm seeing this weird intersection and pathway where people are either coming from ETH to Bitcoin, or there might even be newcomers where they didn't even have time to explore within ETH and NFT summer. So they're just coming into Bitcoin. So all they know is L2s, which is interesting. Um, and to hear newbies talk about ZK rollups and all these other different things that are very like technical. It's super refreshing to know like, okay, Bitcoin is definitely home for not only an entire industry, but also for this new wave of people that are going to be brought in due to the bull market that is forthcoming still. And although a lot of the builders weren't necessarily concerned with market price and whatnot, it does add a little fuel to the fire, of course, makes raising easier if you're venture backed or looking to be venture backed. So I think for a lot of the people, they're either new coming from Ethereum, or they're hyper interested in Bitcoin, but kind of have like 1 foot in Bitcoin, 1 foot in Solana, a hand in Ethereum, a finger in Base, and they're trying to figure like how can they be omni-chain or multi-chain while still leaning more so towards Bitcoin. So some of those conversations have been interesting. But yeah, I would say I see those three vantage points, either all in on Bitcoin and L2s and they're just coming in to learn, Ethereum plus, or all of these different layers and they're trying to weave in Bitcoin somehow.
Yeah, I know Stacks has been around for so long, and a lot of people in this room and on stage have been around for so long. But I think it was faded for a long time, or just not on people's radar, especially for the last like 2 years. So it's definitely good to see Stacks, the Premier L2, getting getting the limelight here. I'm going to throw you one more question, Chris. But yeah, Visions, jump in here.
Yeah, I think the really interesting thing that I noticed, and I've been kind of seeing it in the ecosystem, just kind of through Velar itself, is there's kind of two chains or two kind of versions of Bitcoin L2s that are kind of coming to market. You've obviously got the Stacks and the Clarity side, which is quote unquote slightly harder for developers to get involved. So what you tend to find is a higher quality developer will spend time and resources building in the Stacks ecosystem, and then you have a different side of L2s, which is very much focused on kind of EVM compatibility. And what that essentially means to people in the audience is that anyone can build anything across from Ethereum to these other L2s. So I think that's super interesting, right? Because I think what you're going to see is a nice split between Bitcoin L2s that have everything and their dog on there. And then you're going to have stacks with the high quality premium products that people have to go away and spend a long time building and teeing up. So I see that as the play. The other thing that I found super interesting was, I think we're at a really interesting intersection now between Bitcoin OGs and the kind of the new Bitcoiners. And the Bitcoin OGs are, kind of maxis, but we are slowly winning them over one by one. If we go back to 3 or 4 years ago with the Stacks ecosystem, and you mentioned to a maxi about Bitcoin layer twos, then you'd be swore at and thrown out of the room. They're much more understanding that this is the way forward now, and this is kind of the way it has to go if you want to, move people away from Ethereum. And you've got the new guard that are coming through that probably got onboarded in 2017, 2020, and they very much are used to Ethereum and Solana and Polygon or whatever, and they're super understanding about it. But I don't think that the Bitcoin L2 ecosystem is as understood and kind of aware as we think. When you're playing in the game we're playing in, which is we're currently sat in the spaces on a random day and at a random time talking about Bitcoin L2s, you have to understand that, do we really think that the 10,000 people that saw Donald Trump do the talk about, bringing kind of Bitcoin to the masses, do we really think they know about Bitcoin L2s? And the answer is probably not, right? So I think we're going to see a seismic shift over the course of 6 to 12 months that we won't even believe. And I think it's going to come to Bitcoin DeFi. It's going to come down to Bitcoin L2s. And I think, I can look in the room here and see the majority of guys and girls in this room are Stacks holders. I think it's pretty obvious that Stacks is one of the ones that win. I think there'll be maybe 3 or 4 that do pretty well. I think Stacks will probably win. But I think we're super well positioned. And I think sometimes you can look at price action and become very kind of romantic or upset by it. But we're so early, like it actually hurts sometimes. Like I would go to some kind of events and speak to people and they'd ask what we're doing or whatever. And you'd mention, they're like, how do you do like perps on Bitcoin? And you'd explain it and they're like, oh, wow, I didn't even know that's possible. So we're so early. Like this is like you don't understand how early you are. We've always said you're early, but when you get your feet on the ground and you actually go and shake hands with individuals, they really don't know what's happening right now. And I think it's going to be a pretty seismic change over the next 6 to 12 months. And it's amazing to see. One thing I'll say before I don't want to take up too much limelight. One of the things I will say is absolute honor, meeting in person everyone that was there. We've got such a great community within this ecosystem, and everyone's so friendly. I mean, we had a cigar night, which was honestly, I stand by this. It was one of the best events we had. I mean, Bitcoin Bills was great, of course, but the ones that are just like, a random thing that you got thrown into a Telegram chat and people turned up and just chatted about life, Bitcoin, and the ecosystem was phenomenal. So, these guys and girls you speak to every single day on Twitter in real life, they're equally cool. It's not a show. And I'm just proud to be part of this ecosystem.
Beautiful. I love it. Yeah, you always bring in great conversations and value. So thanks for, don't go anywhere. Stick around because I got questions for you. So 2 things came to mind for me with this more open-mindedness from like the quote unquote maxis, or people that are new to Bitcoin. I wonder how much of that is due to not only new people coming in with an open mind, but the fee spikes over the last year, with ordinals and everything happening, when those fees spike and became super painful and clear that like you can't scale Bitcoin globally without an L2. It's usually like some kind of pain point event that makes people like try to rethink like and open their minds and say like, all right, well, what are some solutions here?
Yeah, that's human nature. People don't change unless they're forced to, or unless there's pain introduced. So, um, for me, I have children, and this is hypothetical because I take care of my children. But hypothetically, if one of my children says, "Hey, Daddy, my feet hurt," why do my feet hurt? I look, it's like, oh, your shoe is literally 2 sizes too small. That pain made my child hypothetically like voice that out. So, in real terms, if people are looking at Lightning and looking at the L1 as not only digital gold, but also something that's divisible like cash, and you're trying to live off of Bitcoin and spend it, having fees spike because of ordinals or runes, it's going to make a person look elsewhere. So that's where I think L2s really shine through. And unfortunately, this is also the time of the money grab where a lot of vaporware is going to come, and VCs are saying like it's hard to track and learn about something when like more and more of it is spinning up like every day. There's this viral tweet that was on Twitter recently where a VC was like, I've been pitched like 30 Bitcoin L2s. Ask me anything. So there's more of them coming, but I think the far and few are going to be the ones that really have proper Bitcoin finality for one, and then for 2, things that actually serve use cases. So obviously there's stacks. One thing that we announced is that we're integrating with Arch Network, which is an L1 solution that's infrastructure, allowing people to build on the L1 and the L2 in a no-code output. So there are going to be things that have different use cases and offerings that utilize Bitcoin, but that Bitcoin finality piece is going to be like the icing on the cake that's going to be needed, and any L2 that can do that will win.
Love it. Leave it to my favorite educator in the space to give us the good metaphors. Thanks, Chris. All right. So anyone else who was able to attend Bitcoin Builders? Any other takeaways? Bit by bit, go for it.
Hey guys, thanks for having us. As always, man, Leather does it right. It was nice talking to you over the air. Too bad we didn't get to see you in person.
I know.
But yeah, man, what a great show. I was thinking, listening to Vision speak, and it kind of like brought something right to me that I didn't really realize was happening while I was at Bitcoin. And, I've been in Bitcoin since 2017. Pretty much have been like a maxi and a blue chip crypto guy up until very recently. And that was literally when I met Stacks and Welsh and everything else that we have going on inside there. But, a takeaway, Visions, like, I'm sure you probably have more than one of these conferences, get together, crypto gatherings under your belt. For me personally, and I think for Stu as well, It was our first time. So I think like one of the takeaways, I feel like next time I go, I'm going to be in Vegas. Next time I go, I'm going to feel a lot more comfortable kind of moving around throughout the different ecosystems inside of Bitcoin and then obviously inside of Stacks. But going in there this time, we were definitely kind of like, dropped off in the middle of a city. We're looking around, we're trying to, make connections, send out DMs to the people who we're planning on meeting. So it wasn't necessarily a well-oiled machine for us. But that was a big takeaway. It was just like, we found our groups, luckily like the after parties and the side venues and the side gatherings, so much networking doing there. As Vision said, man, that was kind of one of the highlights of our times too. The cigar night and drinks with Jack and a handful of others. Wags, I see you out there. But yeah, I think like maybe like a starter's guide for Bitcoin conferences. I'm not sure how you would do that, but it was kind of cool walking around and figuring everything out as we went. It was just, and then, obviously meeting the OGs. That was the most special part. That's what I got.
Nice. It can be tricky to try to mitigate, like, even if you're in person, to mitigate the FOMO because there's so many places you can go, so many groups. So I just, it's kind of important to check in with other people. Like, all right, let's stay in touch with each other, try to stay connected, stay together. Yeah, good. What? One observation I made, even though I wasn't in person, just from conversations we've had, either in meetings or with everyone else in spaces. The main conference is obviously like that is the Bitcoin, the monetary asset, Bitcoin. Fix the money, fix the world. It's getting political. It really is. Probably, by design, as it's supposed to be, naturally focused on like the money part of it. But the Bitcoin Builders event and any other side events, like that's where the innovative stuff is happening. That's where the Bitcoin blockchain stuff is happening. Building on Bitcoin, what are the other use cases? And that's all new, and that's all super exciting. So, yeah, I think anyone who went there probably found themselves in the right space. Yeah, I'm curious, as we transition to the main conference, it's going to be good to get anyone's feedback and observations on, the comparison between the two. Before I move away from Bitcoin Builders, does anyone want to jump on and add anything about Bitcoin Builders event? Yeah, Jack.
Man, it was, excuse me. How's it going today? It was awesome. Sorry, I got a frog in my throat.
Everyone's voice is gone. Have you noticed, JB? Everyone's voice.
It is still. It was great. First of all, when President Trump, one of the things he said in his speech was how awesome Bitcoin people are. Basically, obviously, he wasn't talking about the maxis, right? Obviously, he's been talking to people who just aren't maxis, but like that is so true. Vision said it, bit by bit alluded to it. When you're around these people that we're with every day and just out here just chewing a fat with on social media, I mean, it was like meeting old friends. It was so familiar and just everyone was so cool. That was bullish in and of itself. And you don't get to see everybody, because there's so much to do. But my biggest takeaway, probably, I've reflected on this a while. I like to talk to people and kind of see where they're at. And I noticed there's people who've been successful in other industries who are now focusing on Bitcoin. Like this one gentleman, he's real estate guy, and now he's like trying to do this crypto hedge fund. So I mean, I'm like talking to him. I'm like, cool, been successful. So what do you look for when you're getting into something for your fund? And he could only give very, very generic answers. And it was only a few minutes into it where I could kind of gauge where he's at, in his crypto journey. And that just made me realize, A, we have a tendency, and I'm guilty of this, of like speaking to people like they know, like they've been here a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're trying to tone it down, you're still talking about things that are going over people's heads. Um, it's a new space. So there's opportunity here to figure out how to get the right education to people, especially people who are trying to build businesses, or even just retail users. There's opportunity here for advisors, things like that. I mean, you can't go to a classroom and learn this stuff. Really, you have to kind of be in this space to understand the space. So that was a big takeaway, and it also kind of ignited the conviction that I had early on, which was just to write about this stuff and try to like have a way to have information for people that they can use. They can do some research, they can go learn. I still believe this is really important, especially for growth. I mean, stacks in and of itself, man, we're gonna do great. I know we're already like head and shoulders leader. We're in a fantastic position, but this whole thing, there's some really smart people in the space. There's some very good educators in this space. We really need to figure out how to leverage that to get people in a good spot to where they understand what's going on, especially if they're coming in here and trying to be enterprising. It's important if you're just trying to build a portfolio and get some exposure, but people who want to take and build things and really move this Bitcoin based economy forward, they need our help. That is going to be important. So I'm thinking more along those lines, and I'd love to chat with anybody about that later. But to everyone that was there, this is awesome. Looking forward to Vegas. That was my very first one. I'm hooked now. We're going to Vegas, and yeah, it was a lot of excuse me. It was a lot of fun.
Nice. I want to transition in a moment to talk about music and art. But let me throw out one more question. So this has come up a couple times already, and that's education. So, with Leather, we have a series of educational videos right now. We've got a pipeline. We're going to be writing a lot more. We've been making little videos about just like basic stuff. What's a Bitcoin wallet? What is stacks? What are L2s? What does it mean to be self-custodial? What are NFTs? And now how can you do that on Bitcoin? So I'd love to crowdsource this. According to like some of the people you talk to at the event, relatively new people or people in real life, what do you think are a handful of helpful videos that would provide the most value to people coming in? Anyone can jump in on this, please.
I think you nailed some of them right up front. You've got to get people used to the idea. I mean, think back the first time you had to do any transaction of any sort, right? This was all completely foreign. And the UI and UX is much, much better than it was back in the day. But we definitely need to focus on those basics. But then, I think that one of the most important things is to make people understand why Bitcoin. I think it's an understanding issue. Mr. Wagme said it yesterday, and it's true. A lot of people still labor under the delusion that the dollar is still backed by gold, right? So people have to understand why Bitcoin as much as they understand why just wanting a number to go up. Because you come in here and this number go up, and you might understand the Bitcoin part of it a year or two later. Well, now people don't have that luxury.
Mm-hmm.
We're literally at a place where you're inches away from nation states battling over Bitcoin. It's going to be very, very difficult for people to get any exposure. So it's just going to be cost prohibitive. Maybe in a decade, maybe less. So that's the part. We need to make people understand why. And then we need to make people understand that this is not all equal. Another thing that people do is they go to social media and they're immediately just inundated with buy this, do this, buy this, do this. Oh, this person has 9 million followers, so they must be on the up and up and super successful, right? So
Yeah.
like, maybe a little bit of that aspect of it as well. Just be like, look, there's some kind of strategy guide to navigate social media when you're learning about this stuff, or watching YouTube or whatever. That to me, I think that's good places to start.
That's awesome. Good. Bit by bit, go for it real quick. I got to go to Boozy for a time constraint, but go for it.
Yeah. Right on. Hey, Sean. Yeah, I think you nailed it when you said about the videos and all the helpful starting videos you guys do. Over here on the 100-day giveaway, we've essentially adopted the crawl, walk, run methodology, and that's like we get these new guys in. Our outreach is actually spread into Africa, and it's spreading quite large. So these folks are the perfect candidates for this mindset, the crawl, walk, run. Stuart himself, I just asked him while you were mentioning the video parts. I said, Stu, how many videos have you made? How many how-tos? And he just said tons and tons and
Yeah.
tons. I think the videos are helpful, and I think also getting the audience to buy in on what it is you're selling is also helpful. So I just wanted to add that.
Good, man. Thanks for that perspective.
Hey.
Is that XY0 I hear?
Hey. What's up?
There it is. What's up?
So, that I always joke around, and I know we got to go to Boozy, but I wanted to just chime in really quick. Man, it was incredible. A lot of people got to meet Huddle Stacks too. No one knew what he looked like, and we kind of debated when he picked me up from the airport, and I was like, "Hey, do you want to go by James, or do you want to be Huddle Stacks out here?" He's like, "I don't know," and then he started meeting people like, "Hey, I'm James," and you look at him like, "Oh, okay." And then you start telling people, "Hey, I'm Huddle Stacks," and they're like, "Oh shit, Huddle Stacks!"
Well, that is one takeaway. Like, get yourself some sort of like, "Hi, my name is."
Right. I mean, it was amazing seeing Jack in person, meeting Boozy in person. Teflon Musk literally knows everyone. I knew he knew a lot of people, didn't know he knew everyone. Visions, Peter, dude, you and Matil, what you guys are doing together, you guys are just creating a magical journey. The Bitflow Liquidium Sand Beach Bar, oh my, it was just amazing. Seeing CMP get up there and deliver his speech too, that was incredible. Obviously, Stu and Bit by Bit, they totally came out from the outside. I got a chance to talk to them, what they've been doing with the 100-day giveaway. Like that's the whole premise and concept of zero authority. Like for so long, for so many years, we've always felt like in this legacy world we need to have some type of permission and an authority. Someone needs to tap us so we can get blessed and anointed to go do this thing. And this is the journey of Web3 and what it's given us, this power just to say, I'm going to come together and I'm just going to go do something. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to do it and it's going to be great. I wish a Hero Gamer could have been there too, and some other folks too. It would have been great to meet everyone in person. But I think the main takeaway, like Jack said, because this was the first for us too, uh, the two main things is there's literally no more FUD on Bitcoin L2s. I was literally joking with Gina, and for you guys don't know Gina, she's Munib's right hand man. So she's been in stacks for the early days, and Brittany McLaughlin was there too. She was stacks early days, one of the original investors, and joined the team. And I mean, we used to hear all kind of crazy things about how this is a Ponzi scheme and it's a scam. Literally, that's all done. And like CMP said, that tweet that went out, like I just got pitched for 30 L2s on Bitcoin. I mean, and we all knew the maxis, they were holding Ethereum, they were holding Cardano, they were holding stacks. So it just the window has changed to such a degree. It is simply amazing, and everyone is now like, how do I build on this thing? And I see Dave there down there too. He's been building a great audience as well. A lot of people came in this year too. The education thing, I've really changed my mind on it. It's so personalized. It's such a journey for every individual. And you go to these YouTube channels, you go back to the Leather Lounge, you learn in so many various faceted ways. and it's all education. We're going to just see this emergence of education, people coming to different bimodals as well, whether I read or whether I listen or whether I watch a video. It's going to be really interesting how that all evolves. But again, it was quite an amazing production by the Stacks Foundation. It was so cool to meet everyone in person and just look at each other face to face and just tell people appreciate what you've been doing for the community. You know, a lot of us don't get paid for this, so we just do it as a labor of love. And so, yeah, great vibes all around. But it was so amazing to see everyone.
Awesome, Zero. Good recap, man. Thank you. All right, well, Boozy, let's throw it to you. Obviously, like, so good that you got to be there. And you have amazing perspective just because you were able to jump in on ordinals so fast. You're in all the biggest ordinals communities. So yeah, I don't know how much time we got you for, but give us the lay of the land and where we're sitting now, like what's happening with Bitcoin art.
Hello, GM everyone, and thank you for throwing to me. I should be a little more okay than I thought originally. IRL work's pretty chill right now, so it should be good to hang out for a while. But yeah, this event, and it's so good to see you all in the crowd. By the way, everyone here on stage too. I met a lot of you. I wish I could have met all of you. I know there was a handful of people that I wanted to see that I just didn't get a chance to run into. I mean, the whole week was like just a blur. It was like one event to the next. There was almost no time to sleep in between. I mean, it was just so fast paced. So I know we all probably missed each other more than we wanted to. But yeah, this year kind of felt like a bit of a victory lap compared to last year. I mean, not just from the L2 perspective, from the art on Bitcoin perspective, it just felt like it was much more accepted, much more maybe mainstream in a way. It was. I remember last year talking to people about it and trying to explain to, I guess, quote unquote normies how art on Bitcoin works and just kind of getting the deer in the headlights look. While this year, it felt like more people understood or at least had a general concept, an idea of how it worked, and at least a little bit of an interest to where they could at least kind of have a conversation with you and ask questions that, you were able to actually to engage in real conversation with these people. It just really felt like a bit of a victory lap. It felt like we're here to stay for sure. Not that we never were. I mean, I think like ordinals and Stacks Hard's always been here and it's not going anywhere, but it just definitely felt like more accepted and more mainstream for sure this year. And the parties, oh my God, the parties. Every event.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
Every venue was just beautiful. The amount of work that everyone put into these events and these parties, it's just insane. Like the production value and everything that was done was just beyond level 10. It was just absolutely incredible. And like the vibes were so high. And I think I heard earlier someone mention like maybe the price had something to do with that. I mean, we're sitting at all-time highs or close to all-time highs. So that obviously feels good to go to these events and be kind of celebrating in a way, the last year, and also on the prices at all-time high. It feels good. You're not in the bottom of a bear market doing this stuff. But overall, man, the art scene is just insanely blew up. I mean, just everything was just so beautiful. I mean, I don't know if you guys had to check out like the Bit Gala. The Bit Gala was beautiful. I think it was the Forbes Web3 event. But just seeing the art, the way the art was presented, and that's another thing that's a huge improvement too, is the way the art has been presented. Like last year, I know at the Bitcoin conference and some of these side Bitcoin events, like I was kind of disappointed in seeing how some of the art was just like thrown up on like a random like LG flat screen TV, put on a widescreen TV. Meanwhile, the art itself is more of like a, portrait mode, like portrait style, like up and down image. And there's all this like negative black space on the TV. It just looked like, I guess, tacky. It just looked like not very thoughtful.
Yeah.
While this year, like all the displays, all the way that the art was being presented just looked so thoughtful and done with so much intention, and really complemented the artwork. It's just like, I don't know, this year just felt like almost like a completely different conference, or it felt like we've been doing this for years and everyone is now experienced and everyone now is like really dug in their heels. It just felt like a night and day difference compared to last year. And again, maybe it's just because the vibes are so high. Everything was just so good. Everyone was in such a great mood. I didn't hear really any FUD about anything. I mean, even like speaking on Stacks, I got zero FUD when earlier in the year talking to some of these Bitcoiners and talking to some of these like, these ordinal people, like there was not a lot of FUD, but there was this kind of like, not really finding stacks like a viable option for an L2 or just not caring even. But
Right.
this year, no, I mean, it was much different. I mean, I talked to people, they were interested. I did kind of like to see that a lot of people kind of felt like Stacks was the leader. I don't know if that's because Stacks has just been here as long as it is, but to me, I don't care. I'm a Stacks, Stacks artist and a Stacks OG at heart. So whatever it takes, as long as Stacks is on top, I'm happy.
Mhm.
So yeah, a bit of a ramble. It was absolutely incredible. I wish I could have met every single person I've ever interacted with here in this space, but for the ones I did interact with, I think we had a really, really good time, and it was just amazing all around.
Awesome, man. I know how much I went in last year in Miami. I had such a great time with you. And speaking on the education front, like just walking around everywhere, you were pointing like pieces of art out, not at the conference, but just walking around in Miami, you were like admiring art and talking about why you admired it. And I learned so much from you about art just to hear like your take on it. So that's just another level of value that you bring to people, like great art. But when you hear when someone cares about something, you can care about it too, because they bring that appreciation. So that's something I appreciate about you, Boozy. Thank you, man. Yeah, don't rush off. If you can stick around a little longer, yeah, please do. Jacob Brown is in the house. I'm going to throw it to you in a minute. And we're just catching up with our artist right now. So let's go Teflon and then Violetta. Would that work well?
Sure. GM. I'm also somewhat like Jack and a lot of the crew. A little tough to speak, but it's coming back now, so we're pretty good. But yeah, awesome event. Wish you could have been there, Longstreet.
I know, man. It was a mistake, but next time.
Yeah, it was good. It was really fun. I mean, Builders event obviously went to all the side events. Not a ton at the main event, but did have a few kind of interesting things around the main event when I was there. And one of them was talking to this older gentleman who is clearly and self-identified as a Bitcoin maxi, wearing crazy. I'm blanking on the. I wish I had took a picture of his shirt, but he was like, "Listen, I've always been against ordinals. I don't get this stuff. I don't get what you're doing and how you're spamming the chain, but like I'm open to it. Like let's talk." And I think it was about, it took time to kind of explain why we do this and why we want to make our art live forever and how, obviously he understands Bitcoin and understands the decentralization aspect, but he was kind of a little lost on, how we're paying the network for fees and to take up block space and all that. And once he got it, it was awesome just seeing the light bulb go off in his head. And, he wants to inscribe family photos and kind of make his family tree and put that all on chain and,
Wow.
ability to pass that on via his trust since it's a digital asset, which was just like, it was really cool to have that conversation. Obviously, seeing Zero, Boozy, Visions, Developer Crew, like everyone was awesome in that. I think, goes without saying for all these conferences, which can happen anywhere. But like having some of those conversations with people like that really like stood out to me. And then another one, kind of on the parallel side, and this was right after I left the Trump speech at the Bitcoin conference, was there was a Cybertruck with the Taproot Wizard painted on the side, and Dima and I from SatScreener were walking across the street, and there's a little kid who was probably 6-7 years old, like 2.5 feet tall, just like points out and goes, "Look, that's an ordinal." And then he just like, and we all just got super excited and like fist bumped him. He's like, "I don't get why everyone's so mad about them. They're cool." And then it was just a real cool moment. So that was, I mean, definitely like art ordinals highlights of mine that like I feel like you could only get at a conference like that. I've obviously been to ETH Denver and a whole bunch of other side events and smaller events, but it was just cool to really be in the midst of all the broader Bitcoin hodler and Bitcoin mining and all these other aspects of the ecosystem that are really, they're outside of like our deving and tooling and ordinals and L2s and all this kind of space that we're in. So it was really cool. And it was cool just to see all the other like lots of stable coins coming out. I mean, there's like Satoshi Protocol, Bima Labs. I mean, obviously Ducat, I think, is in the Bitcoin Frontier Fund, so we've heard of them. But there's a lot of others that are there, and it's funny, but it's fun to see how people are really piling in on that Bitcoin alignment. I know Vision said that earlier. It was like a lot more shitting on EVM or other non kind of Bitcoin aligned projects that people are just wanting to leverage mostly ETH stuff and kind of try to extract Bitcoin liquidity. There's a lot more alignment now as the ecosystem's matured. So it was really cool and just incredible. First time in Nashville for me. I wasn't I wasn't sure what to think. I love all music, but it was awesome to spend some time afterwards with some of the artists on like Sunday and Monday, kind of hitting the art museum and hitting some of the honky tonk bars. It was cool. You'll have to come next year, Longstreet.
I know. I've been to Nashville one time and I was just blown away by the music, by just the musicianship is crazy there. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it really is.
All right, so I'm inspired now, and I need some input. So I need a new Halloween costume coming up, and I'm thinking Bitcoin Maxi circa 2022. What do you think? What do you think I should wear for my costume?
Probably some
How's the
podcasting
Bitcoin
gear,
Maxi?
I would think.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not sure what else.
You
Really.
mentioned that someone stuck out like as a Bitcoin Maxi. I was just curious what that looked like.
I think I'm blanking on. It was just a black shirt with some sort of super. I think it might have been the Free Ross one with something else, but it wasn't the main Free Ross one everyone had. But
yeah,
and he just self-identified as a Bitcoin maxi, within seconds of meeting us. So
nice. Yeah, how do you know
but
someone?
I don't care. I've never been a Bitcoin maxi hater or anything. It's just everyone's on at different spots of the journey. Even whatever the whole Luke thing with the Luke cat. I don't like. There's no point in engaging or doing stuff like that. I don't think it is. I mean, I guess it adds to the lore and adds to the culture somewhat, but it's just my dad's probably more Bitcoin maxi than most of these people that people shit on. So it's like you don't want to be shitting on people too much.
All love from Teflon. I love it, man. All right, Violetta, let's throw it over to you. What's it like? So first of all, congratulations, because Violetta is fully transitioned now. She's an American, red-blooded American. She's living in the States now. I've been following her for, I think, at least 2 years. She spent a lot of time in the Stacks ecosystem, releasing a lot of music. So if anyone listening is a musician, she has carved a completely unique path forward, sidestepping the traditional music industry, the streaming platform services. A lot of her success has come down to, well, obviously, insane talent and work ethic, but a lot of know-how, creative marketing, and authentically connecting with her fans. So, Violetta, welcome to the lounge. We're very honored to have you here.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you for that amazing introduction. I don't know if I deserve it,
You
but
do.
thank you so much. It's good to be up here. I'm sad I didn't get to see everybody that is on the stage. I didn't get to see you all last week, but as you know, it was incredibly intense, although amazing, of course. Yeah, I live in Nashville. Although I wouldn't really consider myself like a true American, I'm still like kind of like I'm working on it, little by little. But yeah, I've been living here for 2 years, and it was honestly really nice for once not to have to travel anywhere. And I think Nashville is like one of those cities that has so much potential to just become massively Bitcoin adopted, because it kind of needs it. Of course, I'm a musician, so from a musician standpoint, as someone who wants to disrupt an industry as enrooted to a city like the music industry is to Nashville, it makes it for an amazing challenge, I think, having that opposition here. But also it's smaller enough, and the rumors spread really fast, right? So I think it could, and it's growing really fast. So I think it could be, I was kind of upset when they said they're going to do it in Vegas next year because I wanted it to be in Nashville again. But yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I wanted to ask, so, you have built a global audience, so it's not really possible for you to like go see everyone in person at one time. But this time, everyone basically came to you. So what was it like to see so many people in person that you've built connections with, over time from all over the world?
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. I try to go to as many events as possible. I was at the Bitcoin Asia event as well in Hong Kong and in May. I'm definitely going to Amsterdam. I'm going to a few more this year. So fortunately, I get to see a lot of these people quite often, certainly more than I see my parents who are in Italy.
Yeah.
Like, so I've seen some of you guys more than I've seen my parents this year, which is, funny. But no, it was amazing. I think, like some of you guys were saying earlier, ordinals, like the ordinals events I went to, which was mostly the ones I attended rather than like the straight up Bitcoin, they're just way more fun. There is culture, there is humor, there is art. And I I don't know, like I am so bullish. Like I want to be honest, I was not into Bitcoin until ordinals came
Hmm.
around. And I think I'm the perfect example of someone who got to know Bitcoin because of the ordinals protocol and because of the option of someone like me or Boozy or Teflon to be able to put our art on Bitcoin, right? Our art is our currency. I don't know about you guys, but like for me as an artist, I've never cared about money. Otherwise, I wouldn't be an artist. You know what I mean? Like I would do something else to make money. But I really try to do it with music because to me, music is my currency, right? And so if I can attach, and it's terribly inflated, and that's what I was trying to tell Bitcoin maxis at the conference who don't quite understand, oh, why, like, oh, so you use, Spotify, whatever. No, like, that in the whole decade of the 80s, there was 70,000 songs published, released in the whole 80s. Nowadays in 2024, we get 100,000 songs per day, right? So when you kind of frame it like this to a Bitcoin, yes. So tell me if that's not crazy inflation, right? So when you frame it like that to a Bitcoin maxi, he's like, oh, I see why you want to use Bitcoin. Right, there you go. Plus, we're bringing culture, we're onboarding artists who move culture, who move, the masses. So, yeah, I'm just so glad that Ordinals exist and I'm part of it, of that community.
I love how you said that art is your currency. And what's interesting about this is that now you have the means of basically like capping that currency, putting limits on it, whether it's releasing only 10 editions of something, because with scarcity comes value. So I love that phrase. Art is your currency.
It really works when you want to try and explain to a really technical financial Bitcoin guy why you are using Bitcoin for your art, whether it's stacks, whether it's, whatever, ordinals. A lot of those people don't really like necessarily make the connection. And I think being a maxi and limiting yourself to only the financial aspect of Bitcoin, it is very superficial because, Bitcoin has a way of living, a philosophy. And when it affects money, it affects every other industry, including the arts, right? And so, yeah, I mean, I found it's an argument that really works when you're trying to explain yourself. And yeah, I was really excited to be able to have these conversations, And Nashville, by the way, it already has a big Bitcoin community. Bitcoin Park is here. I've been to it many times. Bitcoin Magazine headquarters in Nashville. So, we have a farmers market meetup every week. And so I get to be really immersed even outside of the conference, which is great.
That's so important. The point that you made about you coming to ordinals and Bitcoin because of art, it wasn't, and I think a lot of other people are like that. It's Teflon's memes. Like, I want to know how many people in this room or in this space in general came because Teflon has just been releasing the most ridiculous, hilarious memes. And then at the end, I don't know if you guys follow him on Instagram, but like always at the end of these incredible carousels is a piece of his art. And you're like, what's going on? Like, why is he always mentioning Bitcoin? All roads lead to Bitcoin, and even those art roads. And that's, again, that goes back to the incredible innovation and value that's happening in some of these side conferences, right? Because there's Bitcoin, the monetary value, and then everything else that's happening on it, which is so dynamic and so new. That's great, Violetta. Thank you so much for your insights here. Can you stick around a little bit and possibly throw us some music? No pressure. Don't want.
Yeah, definitely. I have to run maybe in like 15 minutes or so, if that's okay, but I'll be around till then.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Okay, I want to transition to a true legend in the space. So Jake Blockchain, as I knew him from so long ago when I was first getting into Stacks and doing my research. Pardon me if you've heard it before, but I found Stacks because of an interview on the Pomp podcast with Patrick Stanley talking about city coins. That was the start. And then I was, I do podcasts all the time. And then it was just listening to every single episode from Jake. So he played a huge part in my educational journey to Stacks. So Jacob, welcome to the lounge.
You are the king of intros, bro. Thank you for that. Also, deeply sad you couldn't make it, dude. That's big miss. I'd love to see you.
It was a big miss and a big L for sure.
Yeah.
But sometimes family comes first, and that's something that I know Bitcoiners understand. But even after the fact, like the day that I could have flown out, like in the evening, my wife was like, "Honey, you should have gone, right?" I'm like, I know it.
Understandable.
But, yeah.
But yeah, man, it was amazing. I mean, this is probably, especially because I started Stacks. Like usually, I could see all the Stacks homies at an event, and this was the first time where like there was just so much going on.
Yeah.
Then like I got to see some new peeps and like put a face to them. I got to see Boozy, got to see Mr. Wagme. Like I know Chris was there, but I didn't get to see Chris. Didn't get to shake Jack's hand. So like it was just there were so many different events going on that that was like the gift and the curse is that you had to really pick like where's the gang going, where's all the people that like I want to rock with, and at any given time there's maybe 2 to 3 dope ass events going on. That it was tough, but it was also amazing.
What are your thoughts about the differences between the side conferences and the main conference, and how is the main conference different from previous events?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest change because like my first conference season was 2022, and we were like entering a bear market. I feel like at that time, but it still felt pretty bullish on like the main conference, and mostly the Stacks Foundation threw something called Bitcoin Unleashed, which is fantastic, but it was mostly Stacks focused, and they were very separate. So there's like Bitcoin Unleashed for the kind of like L2 homies, and then there was the main conference for like the monetary maximalists.
Mm-hmm.
And then last year that started to shift because Ordinals had already popped, and Ragnar and Diego threw the Ordinals conference, which was amazing. Like sold out the Hilton. That was great. And like all the Ordinals kind of like frontier people came to that conference. And then we kind of spilled over into the main conference. And then this year you have like Casey on the Nakamoto stage, like giving a talk with Pete Rizzo. And L2s are like throughout the main conference. And then the side conferences are like almost as big as well, not as the main conference, but they're absolutely huge. Like Inscribing Nashville was amazing, insane venue. Bitcoin Builders was also amazing, like a 4-tier place that you can go from like beautiful rooftop bar to great panels to chilling downstairs and just having good conversations. So and like dovetailing on what Boozy said, like earlier you couldn't really talk about like stacks or L2s at any of the main conferences. Now they're a point of discussion just on the merits, like what's the design trade-offs, is this one useful, what's the traction like, what's the community like. So all of this is bleeding in really heavily into like the Bitcoin main culture that I don't think you could put it back in the bottle.
Yes. Let me throw everyone this question, and maybe Jacob, you can jump in on it first. So how has, like I mentioned in the opening, we are now living in a post Bitcoin conference world right now. Like there was so much that happened. So what in your view, either what are you most excited about, or like why are things different now? How has the Bitcoin landscape changed now because of last week?
So there's a ton, but I'll keep it brief so everyone else can jump in too. But for me, it's the fact that Bitcoin has so many tentacles and so many things, and they actually go really deep. So like Ordinals is great for art. Bitcoin mining is amazing for electrifying the world and putting like being able to spin up new electricity and have it be captured and not just like wasted. The mining stage at the main conference was massive. So there's all these different tentacles, from art to founders coming from EVM to mining to money to politics, that like Bitcoin, unlike any other ecosystem or crypto currency, is like it's not just touching it, but it's like infiltrating, going deep in those sectors, and then pulling them in to Bitcoin broadly. And so, like what we define as Bitcoin is sometimes the money, but now it's becoming all these other things. It's becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. That's the thing that stood out to me the most.
Nice. Let me throw that question out to everyone else. What are you most excited about in the near future? What's got you so bullish because of last week?
Yeah, I'll quickly chime in. I actually have to get ready to jet myself, so I definitely appreciate the time and wish I could have seen everyone as well. But my point, I think, is really interesting that during one of the promotional videos for Bitcoin 2024, they gave Stacks a segment, and it just showed buildings being built and going vertically up. I seen it when Hero Gamer retweeted it, but not only that, but there's also an L2 track for the pitch competition for the overarching Bitcoin 2024, which means they've thought about it methodically and they're opening up to the concept of an L2, the language around meanings and what is an L2. Manib, he actually gave a really good synopsis of that. L2 is technically an EVM term. We haven't really seen other outputs in Bitcoin, so they're just labeling it an L2, but
Right.
it's just a different output that helps scale Bitcoin, which I think was very succinct and concise. So ultimately, they're becoming more open to Bitcoin and the ecosystem at large that is building on Bitcoin. When you have people and platforms such as, Justin Sun and Tron creating a Bitcoin L2, like, there's something there from a market standpoint. But when you see the overarching conference welcome L2s and L2 companies where they can pitch and present and be in front of Bitcoin only investors, that's completely different. So, like you said, the bottle can't be closed. So, really, really interesting times ahead.
Nice. Jack, I want to throw it to you real quick. But one more question for you, Chris. So if people were just going to watch like 2 or 3 presentations from the Bitcoin Builders event, what would you point them to?
Oh man, that's tough. The I think the conversation where Manib, the founder of Bob, um, yeah, that one was good, where they were speaking with Kyle about just L2s at large and what it looks like. Um, I think that would be a good one to look at. The other one, man, I can't choose. I'll just say start at that
Yeah, good.
one, and then let the algorithm help you out and look based off of your interests and topics.
Nice, man. Well, thanks a lot, Chris. Stick around as long as you can. Jack, let's go.
Yeah, I think in terms of the things that really changed post conference is you just had a leading presidential candidate give boomers permission to like Bitcoin. If you've ever tried to talk to a boomer about Bitcoin, I mean, this is they just don't get it. They don't trust it. They don't understand it. And, you just had someone who's going to pull 70, 80 million votes, whatever it's going to be, just speak beautifully about Bitcoin. So, yeah, I think that's the part that changes. And then you have to look at, well, who's actually got the money right now? Retail's broke. Boomers, right? I mean, they've got pensions, they've got all these things. They're going to want to know if their pensions invested in Bitcoin. So I really think that's the game changer. One of the larger ones, just in terms of how things will never be the same.
Good, man. Yeah, that's good feedback. On the art side, Boozy, I don't know if you're still able to talk, Violetta. But what are you most excited about in the near future?
I think I'm just excited about well, I'm excited about the fee rate being down first and foremost. It's not up at that ridiculous fees that it used to be. We're back down to what, like 6, 7, 8 or something like that. So
Yeah.
but I am excited about connecting with collectors now that may have not been interested in collecting Bitcoin art. In this post conference world here, this post Bitcoin 2024 world, um, I think it kind of got on a lot of people's radar. I think there was a lot of people I ran into at these events that were like, the Ordinals events that were like plus ones, or, came with a friend, and just didn't really understand it at all. And they showed an interest in collecting art. I mean, everyone loves art to some degree. And if you don't, you're kind of a strange person, in my opinion. But everyone loves art to some degree. And now you have a way to collect it in a way that, in these people's minds, a couple of the conversations come to mind about how you can collect art in a very mobile first way, right? You can have your experts, your leather, whatever it is, and you can have it right in your desktop, right in your laptop, right on your phone, and you can collect this artwork and show it off. I mean, a lot of people that collect art, the reason why you do so is, you like to show it off. People come to your house and you like that conversation to spark about a piece of art on your wall, and it's nice to talk about it. It's just an enjoyable thing to do in terms of art. And now you can do that on the tram, on the way to your office, and you can connect with someone over art and say, hey, well, look at these pieces that I'm collecting. And, they're on Bitcoin, and, they're on these rare Satoshis. And it's like this whole new world has opened up in the forms of collecting art. And I think in this post-conference world, it's going a bit more mainstream, and it's just going to become a little more normalized. And I really hope it does stick. I definitely do think it will stick. But I can see people like, my parents and, some of the older people that I know being interested in collecting art on Bitcoin in a mobile first way.
So smart. You talked about like a stickiness about it. And, I know there's a lot of people who are so passionate about Bitcoin that they can talk about the monetary aspect of Bitcoin like for the rest of their lives. That's everything for them. But for a lot of other people, finding these communities around art and the permanence of it, that becomes more interesting. You can just talk endlessly about that. And it's so dynamic. It's always changing. We're getting new people into the space all the time. So yeah, that's good perspective, man. I wanted to, as we were talking about the differences between this conference versus last year, I wanted to share one memory. So yeah, last year, it wasn't super exciting. It was poorly attended. And then at the end, they had Zoltan Pozar, I think his name is Zoltan Pozar, on. I think he's a macroeconomist. And on the spot on the stage, this was right at the end, they said so after speaking about Bitcoin so eloquently, are you going to buy some? And he just flat out in nonchalant monotone voice, he said, no. And I was like, man, this is not the conference vibes that I was going for. Turns out this year was the vibes that I was going for, but I didn't make it. So, yeah, what a difference. What a difference this conference was. We're running kind of toward the end. I know Bitflow has their space right now, so I don't want to go too much longer. But if anyone has anything to say, anyone want to jump up and throw questions to our guests, please be my hand. Raise that hand, and we'll get you up here and answer some questions. Visions, anything else you want to close with, reflect on?
No, I mean it's we're just going through the seismic shift right now, and I think we've got we're super bullish on our side. The partnerships we've been forming lately, and many of them we kind of signed off at the event as well, because where's better to sign off big Bitcoin decisions than at a Bitcoin conference. But I think JB said it right. Jack said that Trump gave these boomers a chance to buy Bitcoin and hold Bitcoin, and he actually specifically said never sell your Bitcoin. So. I think it's gonna kick off, man. I've never been more bullish in my whole entire life. It's a pretty crazy time to be alive. There's no fucking way I'm selling anything. I actually can't believe people are selling with this news. Literally, the presidential candidate of the free world just said he's gonna make Bitcoin an actual treasury asset, and which will probably lead to buying Bitcoin, and people are selling are you a moron? And I think this is gonna create an arms race that we've never seen before. And I think we're going to start seeing in the next 90 days or so, more countries adopt some sort of Bitcoin standard in some way. And we just keep building, we keep shipping, we keep our heads down, we keep partnerships going. Excited. We've already started planning our Vegas event. We're going to be doing a really nice event in Vegas, and over the next 30 days, we've got some pretty fucking big announcements to make. So yeah, we're heads down, shipping, making partnerships, and just trying to keep driving the ecosystem further forward. But great as always, bro. Appreciate you dragging me on stage with this hammered voice from the conference. But yeah, once again, thanks for the time. ace meeting everyone that was there, and we'll catch up real soon. Cheers, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. I definitely want to follow up with you, have some more conversations about what you guys are cooking over there at Velar. So yeah, we'll schedule something soon. All right. So I think, Violetta, if you are available, do you have a little piece of music for us?
Yeah, most definitely. My voice is also still shot from last week. It's recovering. I think today is the last day, but I have an acoustic recording of a song that I could play for you guys. This is a song that I actually wrote inspired by an Ordinals project, No Ordinary Kind by Control, that actually minted today, and they minted out, so good job on that. And we did an amazing activation at inscribing Nashville and Ordinals Night on the 24th last week, where they put me on a Cybertruck, and they did this crazy entrance, and everyone was like in Breaking Bad suits, and I was able to perform this song from the top of the Cybertruck, which is pretty epic. Yeah, it was dope. It was cool. Definitely one of the coolest things I've done. So yeah, I would love to play that song.
Bitcoiners do cool shit. That's awesome. Another takeaway.
Ordinals people especially. Yeah. But yeah, here it is. It's called No Ordinary Kind. Please send me some thumbs up or down, whether it works or if it works or not. Yeah, let me know.
Lonely ever after, they said, won't be getting better, forget it. Might as well be already dead. For what it's worth, I've said my farewells. A dollar bill will burn for me. I'm a stranger chasing freedom and glory for my mind. I'm not crazy, baby, I'm just no ordinary kind. Maybe it's just the price that we pay for wishing we can live on forever. But I forgive myself for my debts. Raise above the clouds, let out the fire that burns in my soul. I'm a stranger chasing freedom and glory for my mind. I'm not crazy, baby, I'm just no ordinary kind. I'm a stranger chasing freedom and glory for my mind. I'm not crazy, baby, I'm just no ordinary kind.
There you go. Thank you so much.
Oh, come on. Couldn't be better. What a beautiful end of the show. Thank you. Thank you, Violetta. Let's give some hearts and hands, everyone. That was great. Thank you. All right. Well, I know there's another show. I could go on for 2 more hours with all of you talking about all the good stuff. But we do definitely need to close things out here. Definitely go check out the next show right now, BitFlow. so that we can, tell them you're coming late from the Leather Lounge here. Too many L's happening with all my legends. But yeah, everyone, thanks again, everyone, for coming. Tomorrow I've got a show with another Leather Lounge. We had 2 this week, so tomorrow we got another show with a new leather partnership that we've integrated with, and that is BitArch. So we're going to see how they are, bringing Bitcoin liquidity, doing interoperability. So check out tomorrow's show. So once again, everyone, thank you so much for joining us here in this lounge. Leather is your gateway to everything Bitcoin, from DeFi to stacks, ordinals, runes, stamps, NFTs, and more. You can visit our blog and learn center at leather.io and find loads of helpful crypto content on our YouTube channel. See you next time, everyone. Thanks again. Stay safe and stack sats.